would you say if I told you that I have created something that'll effectively give you a chat GPT that is an expert on any subject and you can train it in about an hour uh, for less than $5? Welcome back to the Idea Supply Chain, where we take a look at where ideas come from and what makes those ideas valuable. Today, I wanted to share a bit of a breakthrough I've had. If you've watched previous videos, you've heard me talk about the concept of a submind. And what this entails is basically it is a subset of information. And so, if you kind of look at what OpenAI is doing, what Anthropic is doing, what all these large language models are doing, they're trying to pack all human knowledge into a single box, right? And so this is super tight compression of information. And as you may or may not know, this results in things like hallucinations, right? There's no idea of what's true, what's not, and anything like that. And there's a good reason for this. It's because the world is constantly changing. There's no way, based on the way that OpenAI trains their models, that model can keep up to date on everything and know what information is important, what's not. And so a lot of the stuff they've been doing with these giant data sets is teaching it to understand human intention via the way we use language. And it turns out that we're actually really bad at it. But I've been working on this different approach called subminds. And so instead of trying to do everything in kind of one big box, I said, okay, well, what if what we need is an actual distributed intelligence? And what this looks like in practice is having one mind that then breaks down into different pieces, right? And if you think about this, this is very much how you understand things. And if we take the idea of launching a startup, okay, to launch a startup, you need to have an idea about things related to product design, right? And how people use things. You need to understand marketing, how to get your messages in front of people. You need to understand engineering, perhaps, how to build the systems that you're trying to sell, or, all sorts of things, right? There's any number of things potentially that you would need to know. And one of the toughest things about being an entrepreneur is that you're learning all the time. And what you want to do is you want to learn faster than the overall economy. And that results in a profit, right? So, and the nice thing here is basically you could take what you learn and then scale that out to, a large number of times. You build one product and then, you figure out how to build it for less than you can sell it for. And so a lot of this is just trial and error, trying to figure it out. And so with the submind, what I've actually done now is I have it set up to where I can give it a topic and it will teach itself. And how it does that is it actually uses this recursive algorithm to generate its own subminds based on what it needs to learn. And so instead of using a large language model as the source of the answers, what I'm doing is I'm using a large language model as the source of the questions. And so, I'll pass in an intent, I want you to learn all about early stage investors or investment, right? Investing in startups, because this is directly related to the first product that I'm building on top of this idea of a submind. Well, it's actually technically the second. First is my AI co-founder, which hasn't worked as well as I'd hoped. And so that's part of it. I realized I need to kind of rethink that piece of it. And so right now I've been primarily focused on product development for this tool for early stage investors and startup founders, actually. And so what it does now is I say, okay, learn this thing. And it says, great. It creates a submind. And it says, okay, in order to learn this topic, I need to know about these 3 to 5 topics. And so then it breaks it down into these subcategories. And then it actually does that a couple more times. Right now, I've only got it 3 levels deep because it's pretty comprehensive at that point. But mostly this was just the first run, so I wanted to see how it went. And so then what it does is it kind of creates this structure of tiered subminds that learn like bits and pieces of the different topics, and then it kind of combines that knowledge into a bigger topic and then a bigger one, kind of at the root, right? And so you get this tree structure that's actually very, very efficient for processing data and, more importantly, like doing recall, searching data. Um, and so the fact is, this is actually super cheap to run. Um, and it basically gives you this, like, it's almost like a fine-tuned chat model that you can chat with, because it has spent the time learning what's important. And so what you do is you can basically filter information through this like submind, and it will be able to take the answer and craft something that is very, very accurate because of that. And this was super cool. I was actually really impressed with the run, like the first run of things. As I said, it took about an hour, and I didn't actually look at exactly how much it costs, but I'm almost certain it's under $5. It's not too expensive because I don't have that much in my OpenAI account, and it didn't automatically recharge itself. So, yeah, so it definitely wasn't expensive to do, and I think I can actually make it probably faster and cheaper in a number of different ways. But the cool thing is really the architecture, not necessarily the model. And I could even probably set up a model to run locally and do it way cheaper even than that. So yeah, this is super exciting because it gives us the ability to do so many different things. Like you could have an entire team of people working for you, essentially. People in this case, kind of meaning like specialized knowledge workers, in the sense of like being pure knowledge, and use that as a way to, uh, really do things a lot faster. And I've always talked about working at the speed of thought. That's what that's what the tagline was for my AI co-founder. But wasn't really able to convey that to the users quite yet. But this is exactly what I'm talking about. I think, oh, I need to have access to somebody who knows marketing. And sure, I can go on ChatGPT and I can ask marketing related questions. But the problem with that is I don't know enough marketing necessarily to understand if what the model is telling me is true or false. And so what I'm doing here is I'm putting that onto the model to figure out what's true or false. And then I have this repeatable system that I can use to filter marketing knowledge through and make it that much better. And so what this does is it actually like creates a much better form of competition, because you can actually have experts in their field train up models that do a better job. Like, I'm just basing it off of like podcast episodes that are somewhat related, and my goal here isn't to be as good as the best early stage investor yet. My goal is to be as good as the average early stage investor, um, because that's all you really need in a lot of cases in order to know just enough. Like, as a founder, I want to have basically my own investor tell me, hey, this is what you need to do to make this attractive to investors, before I even talk to the investor. That way, when I go to talk to the investor, I'm prepared. I'm knowledgeable about what I'm expected to be knowledgeable about. I've crafted a pitch deck that speaks to what the early stage investor wants to see. It tells them the story that they're interested in hearing. And then all of a sudden, my whole process is way more efficient because I don't need to spend all this time learning that on my own. I can outsource that learning. And that's really where the rapid improvements come in, because I don't have to spend all my time learning. I can spend my time building and doing, and let the AI take the task of learning, because it's way faster and way better at it. It can hold a lot more information it's not limited in the amount that it can pick up. And so when you create this like system that it can even update itself, it can learn more and more over time and refine itself and build on what it already knows. And so you can have a very, very powerful system that you build yourself for pennies effectively. It's so unbelievably cheap, and such a great way to access knowledge. And so right now, I'm training it on podcast data. We'll eventually open it up to training on a whole bunch of different types of knowledge, because it's I think it's a very interesting way to even just organize knowledge. And so one of the ideas down the line is actually letting people put in a list of like websites, and it can crawl that website for all the pages on there and then essentially categorize it into these very specific submines that can be used to reference specific questions. And then, so as you're asking questions, you can really get some pretty impressive answers off of like very small bits of information. And so then it becomes a test of who can figure out which information sources are better. And you're not relying on Google to tell you what the top result is, because let's face it, the top result on Google for the answer to a question is the person who knew what Google wanted the most and was able to provide that, not the person who provided necessarily the most accurate answer to the question you had. And so these skewed incentives really make these systems not perform well. But if you have a system that actually is built solely based on your intentions and can be filtered through the stuff that you're interested in, the stuff that you're understanding, and everything kind of gets filtered through your intentions, that's really where the major power comes in. So I'm excited to build this out some more, open it up to a few more people. I'm going to start helping people train submines on various things. If that's something you'd be interested in, please reach out. I'm going to be working with different products, different clients who are interested in this, because this is a super exciting time. It's something that is so immensely powerful, and it's going to just be absolutely epic. So I'll be showing more results as I get them. Got to do some filming of those, but it's super cool. So stay tuned. It's going to be epic. Anyway, that's it for this update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.